everybody, and welcome back to the World of Inspiration. I'm truly Chris. And for those that have been following me the whole time, I'd like to thank you. The subscriptions and the support that I've been getting is amazing, but we could really use some more, especially when it comes to this topic that we're going to be talking about today. Today, this is going to be a very sensitive subject and probably dealt with by most people. I think there's not a person alive who doesn't deal with some form of, scary issue in their life. So the idea here is what we want to do is we want to find a way to cope with those feelings of suffering and silence. And there are too many people out there that are, stuck in a mindset where they will not be able to get out of because they're afraid of maybe what someone else will think, or maybe their medications won't allow them to, or, I really don't know. Everybody, has their own reasons, I'm sure. But I do know that nobody should ever have to feel like they don't belong in this world. So I find it very, very important to emphasize on sharing this video. I want you guys to share this with as many people as you can, because we all know somebody who is suffering out there. They may not be telling you that they are, but just by seeing this video, it may give them the courage that they need to reach out for help. So if you are the person that is suffering, I want you first to know that you are not alone. The most important thing to remember here is that there are people like you who suffer every single day, and you don't have to go through this fight by yourself. To be honest, if you had been reaching out for help this whole time, you probably would not be in such a state of suffering. Now, pain is inevitable. Everyone goes through pain. You cannot avoid pain, but suffering is optional. That's something you're choosing to do. Even if you cannot choose what's causing you to be upset or to feel sick on the inside, choosing to suffer is something you don't have to do. There are ways around it, and I'm really going to touch on those subjects today. Now, I'm just going to point out some of the major issues that people are dealing with today. Here we have our board. First and foremost, we have what's known as anxiety, okay? Anxiety is a fear of the future, right? So when people become anxious, it's like, they're kind of worried. They got this fear about them that they don't know what's going to happen, and, they start to become scared of what the outcome is going to be. And, that's understandable because everybody does go through it, and some people deal with it in worse ways than others. Some people even need medication to help them deal with this on a daily basis. But not everyone is talking about this. Unfortunately, there are too many people suffering from going through this issue, and they're not getting the word out there, okay? So this can actually be prevented just by people sharing and talking about it and coming out of their shells, so to speak. So how do we do that, right? We're going to find a couple of different coping mechanisms for a couple of different mental conditions that are causing major issues in people's lives. And another one that we got here is called depression, right? As to my understanding, what a depression is more of a fear of the past. When one becomes depressed, it's because they're unable to drop the past and unable to move forward with their life because they're so worried about things that have happened to them, and they have not been able to deal with grieving in a proper way. And that's understandable. I get it, because we all have our forms of grief that, some of us just deal with better than others, and some people are good at this, some people are not. Some people have the chemical capacity to be able to deal with this in their mind, and others don't, okay? But by staying by yourself, once again, you will not be able to come out of this mindset, okay? Another one that is very, very dangerous is called PTSD. Right? Now, this one is very, very common. It's becoming more and more common in today's society because it is a term that's being thrown around loosely. Now, PTSD actually stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay? Now, what that is people who have been through an experience in their life. Now, it may not be just one experience. It could be a series of experiences that are just kind of burnt images in their brain that they're unable to let go of. So it could be a combination of anxiety and depression, and it's usually a feeling or a sense of not being able to belong in a certain crowd, or it's very common amongst military people who come home after going into battle, it's very, very sad story to the outcome of what happens to most of the people who deal with this. Now, the fourth topic that's very, very touchy to all of this, the fourth word I'm going to look at here is called addiction. Okay? Now, addiction is also a very, very effective coping mechanism for too many people, and it's dangerous. Now, all of these are dangerous collectively, but no one of them is more dangerous than the other in the same regards that they all end up in the same result. Each one of them are suffering, and by the end of it all, they end up not only in pain, but they usually don't want to live. And all too often, these have the end result of possible suicide. Now, as a person who has survived a couple of suicide attempts, I can tell you that I've never been more grateful than I am to stand here today and be able to share this message with you. Now, why is that possible for me? Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you that it was actually a major shift in my thinking, right? And that was kind of hard for me to come by because I was very stubborn and very hard-headed and very stuck in my old ways, and I really didn't want to shift or change in any certain way, okay? So, I do want to let people know that most importantly, you're not alone. You are not alone when it comes to anything going on in these areas. If you or somebody you know is suffering with any of these particular areas in their life, then it's very important to speak out, okay? Because those who suffer in silence will stay in silence. Right? And when you stay in silence, there is no solution. There's no solution in silence. It's just not going to happen for anybody in these particular ways of thinking. So, what I want to do is I want to show what's very, very important, okay? First and foremost, like I said, you are not alone. And because there are so many people out there that are coming out and speaking out about these subjects, that they're able to, get the help that they need, whether it be, psychologists or therapists, or maybe it's just support networks, or it doesn't matter who you are, or it doesn't matter who you know, but it matters that you don't stay by yourself, okay? So there are things that need to be avoided, okay? So I'm going to call these red flags, right? These are the things we look for, all right? These are the things most important and most common that run through all of these, okay? Now, this is what we need to avoid. The first piece I'm going to say to avoid, okay, is isolation, okay? It's very, very important to remind yourself that you cannot stay by yourself and be able to overcome a problem that you've been going through. It's just very, very hard to do. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's highly improbable. Albert Einstein once said that this mind has created a bunch of problems that this mind cannot solve. Now, that's exactly what's happening here. When you stay alone and stuck in your own thoughts, you kind of get lost in a sea of thoughts that are dangerous, have been dangerous up to this point. So to stay there isn't going to help. Okay, so we kind of need someone to be on the side and be our life raft to kind of pull us out of that sea of thinking, right? So staying isolated is very, very dangerous. So we want to get out of that as soon as we can. First thing you can do is try to be around somebody. Even if you're not ready to talk yet, at least just being around them may help you to just feel just a little bit better. And that's kind of the idea behind it, okay? The next thing I want to focus on, okay, is darkness, okay? This is all too common, okay, in a lot of different ways. Darkness, I'm going to describe this as not just a way of feeling, but I'm going to describe this in an environmental way, right? A lot of times the people who deal with those particular issues, they feel themselves in a dark world, so they surround themselves in dark environments. Maybe, they shut all the curtains down, or, they shut the lights and they sit there and, without being anywhere near anything bright or anything light, because it's sort of how the way that they're projecting how they feel on the inside, and that's kind of what's coming out of them, okay? And it's very, very dangerous. So if you or somebody you know is stuck in a darkness, okay, then it's very, very important that we help them to avoid the isolation by nothing more than maybe just being near them, okay? Because the light that's within each and every one of us is able to kind of shine through the darkness of everything that everybody is going through. We have to constantly be on these people and remind them that we are here for them and we are the light that they maybe need to be or need to feel or need to see, okay? So the most important thing is to avoid being isolated, staying by yourself if you're the one suffering, or avoid allowing the person who is suffering to stay in isolation. And then next is to avoid any type of darkness. Okay, so it's very, very beneficial to keep on as much light as you can, or to keep a person feeling as good as they can. And I know this is kind of hard to do, okay? And I'm not asking you to do anything that's, I guess out of your power. You don't need to be a psychologist or, anybody, highly trained in a certain area to be able to perform something like this. These are all very, very simple tasks that anyone can do, okay? And we all should practice these as often as possible, okay? So the next thing that I'm going to ask people to avoid, okay, is silence, okay? Now, silence is going to be the number one killer, because once again, if the mind is creating these problems, the mind that's isolated and stuck in a dark place is going to keep itself quiet and doesn't want to share what they're going through with other people. These are the ones who are in the most dangerous of places, okay? So if you happen to see anybody who's going through any of this stuff, once again, reach out. And if you're unable to deal with it, coping with this on your own, there's always somebody out there who will help you. We can stage interventions, or, there are prevention hotlines that can be contacted. As a matter of fact, for this video, what we're going to do is we're going to create a link for the suicide prevention hotline right at the bottom of the page. So it's absolutely free and it's 100% anonymous. Nobody has to know what it is you're going through, but there's always somebody you can talk to out there. And it's very, very important, because your life is more valuable than you may feel or you may realize at this moment. I gotta be honest with you, there was a point in my life where I really didn't feel like I valued much. I really didn't feel like I was worth anything to anyone. And I realized that just by thinking that way, I was devaluing myself and making myself less valuable to the people around me. Now, the same thing can work the opposite way. Sometimes it takes for other people to remind us of that. Occasionally we need someone to, be our life raft, or someone to help us out when we're struggling, because we are an interdependent species by nature. And it's just that important to feel like we're a part of some type of crowd, or, that there's somebody who understands what it is we're going through, because a problem shared is less of a problem. Like, when we're dealing with problems or major issues in our life, it often feels like we're carrying around a refrigerator. That's how heavy these burdens can feel on our shoulders, right? Well, any one person trying to carry around a refrigerator by themselves is going to have a hard time. Now, if 2 people or 3 people tried to lift that fridge, it'd be just a little easier, wouldn't it? I'm not saying it wouldn't be heavy. I'm just saying that it would be a little easier for someone to deal with. And that's the kind of support that we all need as humans, because none of us really are superheroes, but more minds together, working together, can fix problems that one mind cannot. And that's always been proven. So I don't see any reason why it would be impossible for this to happen. And I know that it's incredibly hard, but it's so worth it in the end, because the value of a human life is not something that any dollar amount can be put on. Now, if you don't think that you matter, I want you to know right now, right in this very moment, that you matter to me, okay? If nobody else in the world can see your worth or see your value, if you don't see it for yourself, understand that I see it for you, okay? And I'm asking you right now to do whatever is in your power to take that first step of what's called action. And I want you to get up and do something. Reach out to somebody, call the number on the bottom of the screen, okay, or click on the link that's in the comments section, or reach out, type in a comment, and we'll help you in any way that we can. I promise you that, because that's what everybody needs. Nobody is perfect to be able to handle every situation on their own. We all could use a little bit of support and a little bit of help. I do know that without the help of all of the people around me and the support that I've been able to surround myself with, the environment that I've been able to condition myself with, I would not have been able to come up out of that funk that I was in. I was in for just so long. And today I actually get to live a life beyond my wildest dreams. If that's the kind of life that you're desiring, if you're desiring just to be just a little bit better than you're being now, than you're feeling right now, it's not all that hard. It starts with one click. It starts with one phone call. It starts with reaching out. Because as soon as you reach out, there'll be a hand ready right there for you to pull you back again. Okay? So please, please, I can't emphasize enough on how important it is for you to share this message. I need as many people as possible to see this, because nobody should ever have to suffer in silence ever again. So let's end silent suffering and let's do it together. Please, by all means, if you need to reach out, if you have a thought or an idea or a comment on this subject, feel free to leave a comment in the bottom or reach out, and we will be happy to reach out back to you and respond to your comments as soon as we can. This is very, very important. No person should ever have to lose their life because of a feeling or an emotion that will eventually pass. Even though it can feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders, it is not a burden that we have to carry alone, because we are not alone in this world. No matter what it is that we go through, there is always somebody out there who's willing to listen. Somebody out there who's willing to help us lift that refrigerator off our shoulders. I hope this isn't you, but if it is, please, please, I cannot beg you enough to do the right thing here. And we all know that doing the right thing gets the right results. When we do the wrong thing, we get the wrong results. So I don't know what you've been doing up to this point, or who you know and what you've been dealing with, but there are ways around this. There are ways to get better, even if it's one moment at a time, right? Because it takes one moment to start building momentum. This may be your moment. This moment right now can change the world, not just for you, but for everyone around you. Once again, my name is truly Chris, and I want you to interact with us here and just start this journey on a new life of yours, because you deserve it. If you don't think you do, I'm telling you right now, I've seen it. I've seen the worst of the worst become the best of the best. I see that in you, even if you don't see it in yourself. So please, by all means, share this with somebody who you might think be suffering. Even if it isn't you, we can all save that one person. If we save even one life just by sharing this video, then it will have all been worth it. We all know somebody who suffers, but maybe we can end that today. You and me. Let's grab hands. Let's pull them back. Okay? Thanks for listening.